Hello, Mr. Waldrop here. Welcome to this video on a household budget. This is a question from a junior cert paper from a few years ago, ordinary level paper, and this is the type of budget you might do in first year. So you can see on the left-hand side we have the question, and on the right we have the budget which has been filled in. We will look at planned income first. Now, just above planned income, you can see opening cash in hand is 300 euros. Now, that 300 euros, the first thing you can do is put it down in opening cash, like you can see they've done down there. I've just put a line underneath it. We'll look at planned income first. There are two earners, and then we've got child benefit. So those are the three types of income that are coming in. First of all, we have Peter Noon, and it says there he earns 3,400 per month and expects this to decrease by 350 per month from the 1st of November 2016. Now, what that means is his income will decrease by 350 euro per month from November onwards. Now, it will not decrease by 350 euros every month. Some students make that mistake. So if we look here and we just put a line underneath it there, and then when we go across to the right hand side and we see, well, September and October, 3,400. But then we subtract 350 euros from that, which gives us 3,050. And we can see in November and December, he has the lower income, the lower wages. Now, those four are added together, and that gives you 12,900 on the right hand side. The next earner is Aoife Noon, who earns 1,900 euros a month, or 1,900 euros per month, but expects this to increase by 160 euro per month. So if we look here, we have 1,900. I'm underlining it here in yellow. And then when we look across, in September, it's the 1,900, but then it increases from October onwards. She has that increased wage. As you can see, it increased in October, and then it was the same for November and the same for December. You add those four figures up, and it gives you the total on the right-hand side of 8,080. Now, child benefit. Child benefit in this budget is expected to be 405 euros per month, and it's going to stay that way. Sometimes in other questions they might tell you that child budget is, or child benefit is going to decrease, but in this one it's all the same. So you can see on the right here, it's all 405 euros per month, and you add all of that up to get 1,620. Now, you've done the total on the right hand side as you've gone along. Now it's time to get the totals beneath each month. So you can see here, we add up the 3,400, the 1,900, and the 405, and it gives us 5,705. Now we add up the same three figures for October, and the wages changed for Aoife Noon, so it's a slightly higher figure, and we have 5,865. And we go along and we continue. Now be sure, after you've added up the months, then you add up across this way. So you're adding up those four figures to get 22,600, which is your total income. So be very careful, because if you make a mistake here, you'll lose some marks and it will affect your budget later on. Okay, so that is planned income done. The next step is the expenditure. Now, if you look at the right hand side, expenditure is broken up into three different categories. We have the planned fixed expenditure, and then we have irregular expenditure, and then we have discretionary expenditure. When you're in first year and maybe second year, and when you're doing this ordinary level question, they will organize the question here on the left hand side so that it's in an order that it's entered into the same order on the right hand side. So we can see the very first one, the house mortgage, is 630 euros per month. So the house mortgage is 630 per month, and that's the very first thing you have to enter in. The second thing is the house insurance, and that's the second thing you have to enter in. The health insurance, that's the third thing. If you're doing a more advanced budget, they might not tell you, and you will need to know what is fixed income and what is irregular income and what is discretionary. Now, we'll go over that in a separate video, but for this one, let's just have a look at each of these sections. The very first one, house mortgage is €630 per month, but will increase by €75 per month from October. Now, again, that does not mean that each month it gets more expensive by 75 again and again and again. It will increase in October by €75 and then it will stay the same after that. So when we look at the right hand side, we have €630 per month, and then we have the increase. And you can see here in October, November, and December, those are all the same. You add up those four figures and you get 2,745. Okay, make sure you add up as you go along. Now, the next is the house insurance premium. Sometimes they'll try and trick you here, so be careful. So it says here, the Noon household pays house insurance premium of €80 per month, and this will increase to €95 per month. Okay, fairly straightforward. So it'll be €80 per month until November. So when we look at the right hand side, we see that September and October is 80 and 80. And then it will increase to 95 from November onwards. So we have those four figures entered, we add them up, gives us 350. The health insurance premium. Again, the Noon household pays a health insurance premium of €240 per month. Fairly standard. So when we look at the right hand side, we can see 240, 240, 240, 240. They're all entered in for each month and then added up to give you 960. This is where you want to start totaling up for each month, just like you did with income. So you will add up these three figures, 630 and 80 and 240, it'll give you 950. Then you will add up the next three figures to give you 1,025, and so on. Now, when you have the months done, you can check that when you add up the total, so if you add up these three figures, the total, it'll give you 4,055. If you added up these four figures that I'm highlighting now, 1, 2, 3, 4, these four figures added up should give you 4,055. And these three figures added up should give you 4,055. If they both add up to be the same, well then you know you've done it correctly. Moving on to irregular income. Household costs are expected to be €2,100 per month, except in December, when they will be €200 less. So on the right hand side, we can see 2,100, 2,100, 2,100. And then as they said, December will be cheaper by €200, so it's going to be 1,900 or 1,900. Now, telephone costs for landline and broadband are expected to be €180 in September and €160 in November. In addition, mobile phones will cost €110 per month. This is the first tricky part of the budget, because we have to recognize that the mobile phones will cost €110 per month. However, the telephone costs for the landline and broadband are expected to be €180 in September and €160 in November. Every month, the household will pay €110 for their mobile phones, but they will also pay €180 in September extra and €160 in November extra. And when we look across here on the right hand side under telephone costs, we can see that they are €290 in September because they had to pay that extra €180. Then their standard mobile phone cost in October. Then they have to pay the extra telephone bill in November, and then standard again in December. So that's the first tricky part of this budget. Electricity bills for light and heat are expected to cost $240 in October and $300 in December, while heating oil will cost $670 in November. So let's go through it one by one. So $240 in October, and we'll look at light and heat. So there was no cost in September, but then in October, $240. Now November is the next month, and that is $670 for the heating oil. And then in December, it's $300 again. So you add those three together to give you 1,210. So car running costs is the next expense. They're expected to be €280 per month for Peter and 200 per month for Aoife. Peter's car will have 4 new tyres fitted at €75 per tyre in November. 280 per month and 200 per month. We have to add those two together, which gives us 480. Now, in November, Peter's going to have to pay extra for his tyres. But let's have a look at car running costs for September. So it's a standard 480. Again, a standard 480. And then December, a standard 480. But Peter is going to have to buy some new tyres. He will have to buy 4 new tyres, and each will be €75. So you have to multiply 75 by 4 is €300. So you have to add the €300 on to the normal costs of 480, and that gives you 780. Add those 4 together and you get €2,220. Now the final irregular cost is education. Education costs will include new iPads costing 700 in September and a school tour costing 500 in December. So there's only going to be expenses in September and December. So we look at education costs and we see here September, €700, we put that in. And then in December, the school tour is 500, we put that in. Those two are added together to give you 1,200. So irregular costs, you add up those 4 and you should get 3,570. And you go across each month again and get the total below, the subtotal. Then you have these 4 subtotals that I'm highlighting now at the moment. They are all added up to give you the subtotal cost for those 4 months. Now, if you add up these figures I'm highlighting, they should also give you 13,610. Now, the final thing that we're going to look at is discretionary expenditure. On the left-hand side, we can see that presents will cost €240 in October and €770 in December. So we see here in the budget, October €240, December €770. And those are the only 2 that go in. Now, we will look at entertainment costs. Entertainment costs will cost €180 per month. Okay, so every month they will pay €180. But in December, it'll cost an extra €100. So if we looked over on the right hand side, we see entertainment costs 180, 180, 180, and then the extra €100 in December is 280. Now, the final bit of discretionary expenditure is holiday costs. The Noon household is planning a holiday. Flights costing €1,000 must be paid in September, so €1,000 in September, and accommodation costs, which are €2,000, must be paid in November. So when we look on the right, we see 1,000 in September and 2,000 in November. Those two are added together to give you 3,000. As before, we need to add up all of our subtotals. So in discretionary, we're going to add up those 2 for September, those 2 for October, these 2 for November, and these 2 for December. And then we have the 4 subtotals here, and we add those 4 up to give us 4,830. Now, we have filled in the 4 different sections, the planned income and the 3 different subsections of planned expenditure. The final bit, and this is where a lot of students tend to make mistakes, is they will have to total up expenditure first. So the easiest way to do that is go month by month. So in September, look for the subtotal for September. It's 950. Okay. And then we look at the subtotal for irregular income for September. It's 3570. And then we look at the subtotal for September, 1,180. So these 3 subtotals are added together to give you 570. Now, do that for each of the months. If you feel that you need to underline them or make a little tick to show that you've added them up or to highlight them, that's perfectly fine. Just keep it neat. When you have your total expenditures along the bottom here for each of the 4 months, I'm highlighting them now. You add those four up together to give you 22,495. Now we have to finish the household budget. You will get a hint here at the bottom when you see net cash. It says A minus B. Now A stands for total income, which is here. And B stands for total expenditure, which is here. So A subtract and subtract B. So if we're looking at September, 5705, that's total income, money coming in. And then we look at September's total expenditure, money going out. We subtract B away from A, and we are left with €5. So we managed to save €5 that month. And we have opening cash, which is the leftover money from the last month, so August. And we are told that at the very top of the question, that opening cash is 300. So you add net cash and opening cash together, and that gives you 305. Okay. Now, when we look at that 305, the closing cash of September becomes the opening cash of October. You can see here there's arrows that are pointing and showing you where to go. Those will not be on your answer sheet. So again, we look at net cash, A minus B, and we subtract October 5865, and we take away 4375, and we have a surplus. Okay, we have more money coming in than going out, and that's 1490. That 1490 is added on to 305 to give us 1795. I'm going to show you the next section because they're trying to throw a spanner in the works here. So our closing cash, the money we had left at the end of October, is 1795. Now it goes up and becomes the opening cash of November. But you can see that total income for November was 5515 and total expenditure was 7040. When you subtract that, obviously we spent more money than we got in, so we have a negative. So we have minus 1525. Sometimes this will be shown with the minus symbol in front. Sometimes the figure will be shown inside of brackets. So with a Noon family lost money that month. What that means is you have to subtract that from the opening cash. And when you do that, we get 270. We'll just erase that. And now you do December as we have done the previous months. Now the final bit we have to do, we have to look at the totals column. The first thing you can do is take opening cash for September, which is 300, and you can immediately put that as the opening cash for the total. You get the net cash is 105, and you get that by subtracting 22,600 and 22,495. When you subtract those two, you're left with a plus figure of 105. Now, just like we were doing before, the 105 and the 300 are added together to give you 405. If you have done the budget correctly, your closing cash of December should be the same as your total column's closing cash. And that is the household budget. I am going to leave a PDF of another household budget that you can do. You can practice yourself. These are all from the state examinations website. So when you are finished that budget, you can then download the marking scheme and have a look at where you went wrong and the mistakes you made. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you found this helpful.